All right, when it comes to rendezvous, really what you want is to be at the same place at the same time as another ship, going in the same direction and the same speed. There's multiple ways to do that. The formula I usually follow is to first flatten your orbits so that they match. Here we can see, if we look at it side on, you can double click the planet to zoom in on the planet to really get a really good view. We're intersecting right here. This is the only place that you can make these two orbits parallel to each other. So there's only one spot you can make them match up, and that's on the ascending and descending node. So if we set this as a target, we get the ascending and descending node. The dotted white line tells us where these things overlap, intersect, or overlap. So I'm going to right click this to get this to go dim. When it's dim, it's pinned and it stays persistent, visible. And then I'm going to right click or left click, add a maneuver. And I'm going to adjust the purple vectors to bring them at 10.6 down to a 0.0. And we notice that as I get close, the ascending node and descending node switch places. When they're perpendicular to where they started, that's as close as you can get it. If it's not 0.0, then the problem is the placement of the maneuver node, not the settings for it. So I'm going to go over here, edit my maneuver node, and use these adjustments to adjust the placement of the maneuver node. So I'm going to use my mouse wheel and get it down to 0.0. And now we're going to click on the maneuver autopilot mode. We're going to time warp the maneuver. I'm going to time warp a little bit more to get rid of the last 60 seconds. We've got a 3-second burn. I'm going to do that last second. Hit X, shift to go just a little bit. With X, and I went a little bit past it, but I have RCS thrusters. I'm going to turn on RCS. H and N is forward and backward, so I'm going to hit N to go backward a little bit because I overshot. And 0.0. We're going to close that, turn off RCS. And now we need to find a point where we can intersect it. We want the ship that's going faster than us, which is in a lower orbit. The lower orbits always go faster. We want the faster orbit behind us so that when we rendezvous with it, it's catching up to us. So I'm going to time warp until the inner ship is somewhat behind us, within one orbit. So since we're getting close to within one orbit, it will pass me. So I'm going to add a maneuver node. I'm going to bring my orbit down to my target's orbit, and just by luck, these two orange tick marks, this tells me where I'll be and where my target will be. You can drag this around to try and find a spot where those two orange tick marks overlap. And here we can see I'm a little bit too far out, so I need to burn a little bit more retrograde, lower my orbit to match. Now I'm going to right click on one of these to show the separation. Separation is 2.7. I'm going to use the fine tune controls down here to get it as close as possible. I'm going to try the green ones first with the sensitivity low. See if it gets closer or further apart. The sensitivity is still too high. I'm going to lower it even more. Looks like 1.3 is as low as I can get it. And now I'm going to try the blue. Blue got me down to 0.3, which is definitely good enough, but I'm going to try the green again. 0.3. So that's as close as I can get it. I'm going to do the maneuver. Autopilot mode. I'm going to warp to the maneuver. It's a lot easier to line these up if you have two circular orbits. Right now, you can see the yellow is the inner orbit is bulging out on one side compared to the blue orbit. That makes it a little trickier. But but it's still possible. So I'm going to time warp to the last second. So the 0.8 second burn, but I'm not going to go full throttle. I'm just going to tap shift. Just minimum thrust. And I'm going to use RCS to fine tune it again. So I'm going to turn on RCS and hit N to go backwards because I overshot again. Turn off RCS. Now we have a half a kilometer separation. All right, so once you have the target as close as you can get it from over here, you can fine tune it 90 degrees from where you're meeting. So we're going to meet here. So I'm going to fine tune it 90 degrees before I get there. I'm going to add a maneuver node. Half a kilometer is close enough, but I'm just doing this to show how you can get even closer. So I'm going to use the fine tuning controls down here. You can click these left and right arrow keys to open up the maneuver node, hit the graphical maneuver editor, and this little volume adjusts the sensitivity of when I click on these. You can either click on these or scroll on them. This is the placement of the node. We're not going to change that. 90 degrees should be fine, but I'm going to scroll on this screen and see if I can get this separation just a little bit closer. So I can get to 0.1. That's about as good as you can get. The burn time is 0.1 seconds, so it's going to be a very small burn. I'll probably just use RCS thrusters. So I'm going to click on maneuver to point in the direction of the maneuver. Going to time warp. Going to time warp the rest of the way. 3, 2, and I'm just going to use RCS and press H to go forward. So it was a prograde move. Turn off RCS. And now we have a 0.1 kilometer. Our speed, our relative speed when I get to the target is going to be 53 meters per second. This could be very high depending on where you're coming from. If it is high, you need to know when to start burning. If you want to figure out when to start burning, you need to figure out how long it's going to take you to burn 57.3 meters per second. The easiest way to do that is just add a random maneuver that's 57 meters per second. So I'm going to stretch my maneuver node out to get 53 meters per second. So, and the only reason I'm doing this is because I want to know how long it takes. So this tells me my burn time is 2 seconds. So I can burn last second, but say the burn time was 10 minutes, you're going to want to start burning 5 minutes early. I'm only doing this to get the burn time. So now I'm going to get rid of it because now I know my burn time is 2 seconds. Now say it was 10 minutes and you need to start burning 5 minutes early. Well, this countdown here tells you how far you are away from the node. So you just want to get to 5 minutes before the node if it was 10 minutes. So it's at 23 minutes. So I would want to find 17, 18, T minus 18. So T minus 18 is when I would start burning if I had a 10-minute burn. And that's how you can get an idea. You could also, if you wanted to add a maneuver node where you intersect and then make your orbit look identical to the target you're matching, because that'll be the exact same burn. So I would bring my burn down there. And if your projected burn matches your target's burn or your target's orbit, then that will also be matching the same speed as the target. And it tells you, now you'll know, it'll tell you when to start burning. So if you can get the maneuver node to match your target's orbit, then you'll have all of this stuff pre-programmed correctly, including the direction that you need to face. So now we can warp to that maneuver, or if you're doing it manually, I would suggest, I'm going to turn this off and do it manually. I would suggest going like a few seconds before you guys arrive. If you click on, have this set to target mode, hit retrograde. When it's retrograde, the target's always going to be coming from behind you. And then I'm going to time warp a little bit until this thing gets along the side of me. So I want it to be right alongside of me. The closest it's going to get is going to be perpendicular to me. Going 57 meters per second. It only takes me 2 seconds to catch up with it. I'm up a little bit. And 1, 2. Bringing my target speed down to 0.0. But 0.1 is good enough. Now I'm going to point towards the target. I'm going to hit the bracket key to go to the target. And I'm going to find my ship that I'm docking with. There it is. I'm going to make that the target for this ship. I'm going to point towards it with this target. So my docked ship is going to point towards me. I'm going to hit the bracket key to go back to my original ship. I'm going to turn on RCS. And I'm going to use H and N to fly forward and backwards. And I'm going to use J, K, L, and I to use the RCS laterally or vertically, like up, down, left, right. And I need to get the yellow vector inside of the target. And the target should be on top of the crosshair. So I'm going to put on target mode. And then I'm going to just keep adjusting with J, K, L, and I to get the yellow circle perfectly centered inside the red circle. And I'm going 0.5 meters per second. You can go about 1 to 3, although you should dock at about 1. So I'm going to turn on RCS, speed up a little bit. I'm going to speed up time a little bit. And then slow time back down. I'm going 1.1 meters per second relative to the target. If you have advanced tweakables turned on, you can right click on the part and say aim camera. And so it gives you a little bit more field view. You can see my yellow circles drifting a little bit. But there we go. We're docked. Now the other way, I'm going to do a reload. The other way is using the fact that all you have to do is be at the same place at the same time. So a different technique to do that is to have your orbit intersect somewhere. So I'm going to intersect on the ascending and descending node. So I'm going to bring my orbit down to its orbit on the ascending descending node. So I'm going to put in a retrograde maneuver. Like so. Try and see if those lines are on top of each other. Here we can see the dotted white line, how short it is. We want it to be 0 length. So I'm going to edit my maneuver node and turn the sensitivity down and play with the retrograde and prograde until that dotted white line disappears. And there. At this point, our orbits intersect perfectly. So I'm going to do this burn. Turn off RCS. Do this burn. Work to it. I have a second burn. So I can do it last second. I'm going to time warp a little bit to get down to the burn. I'm going to use shift because I'm definitely not going to go full throttle on a half-second burn. Zero point 0. And now we have a spot where our orbits intersect. So all I have to do is adjust what time I get here. And the easiest way to adjust what time I get here is to fly a longer distance. So you can do that by adding a maneuver node right on that intersection. And then just stretch it out until that orange tick mark where the target is shows up where I'm at. So all I'm doing is I'm delaying my arrival. There. And now if I do this burn, I'm going to try and click on the separation. All right, there it is. I'm going to edit that maneuver node again. Try and get that separation down as low as I can. 7654321.2. Definitely good enough. So if I do this burn, I'm going to turn on the maneuver node, time warp to this burn. All we're doing is we're making it take longer and longer for us to get here. So we get here at the same time the ship gets here. It's a 2-second burn, so I can start at last second. Fine tune it. Off. So we can see that I didn't do it perfect. There's a 4.4 kilometer separation, so I'm going to use RCS to fine tune it with H and N, forward and backward. 0.3, turn off RCS. And if you needed to fine tune it some more, the best place to do that would be 90 degrees from the arrival here. So now, again, we can, we have a 171 meter per second relative speed when we arrive. So if I want to try and pre-program that burn instead of trying to eyeball it, I can add a maneuver node here and then make my orbit match the yellow orbit, which means I need to bring it down, retrograde. And then I also need to adjust the pitch of it, the inclination. So I'm going to bring this back up. And I need to shift the whole orbit to the left. So the blue shifts the whole orbit left and right. And then it's a little bit too big, so I'm going to do a little retrograde to bring it back down. And that's pretty close. So that will be the burn that you need to do to match. And we can verify by looking at my burn. So 171 meters per second. We're going to be approaching it at 171 meters per second. So now we can point in the correct direction. And we'll just YOLO it and try to warp to the target position. It should be a 6-second burn, so it'll bring us to before, like a minute before. Valley's gonna, when you're lined up with the target, such a retrograde, it's always going to be behind you, as I said. So now we're a minute away from a 6-second burn. Time warp a little bit to get this closer. That's the burn in 5 seconds. So we'll see how good it is. 2, 1, burn for 6 seconds. Pretty close. Wait, 0. Point towards the target. Oops. Brought our maneuver to 0, but our target relative speed is not 0. So I'm going to hit retrograde. I could use RCS, but this is a little easier. And actually, the target is not perpendicular to us yet, so it's still getting closer for free. So I'm going to time warp a little bit. I'll get as close as it's possibly going to get. All right. Should shift to bring our relative speed to 0. RCS to back up a little bit. RCS, point towards the target. Hit bracket. Go to the target. Point the target to us. Go back. Bracket to go back to our ship. Point towards the target. Tap shift, go forward. 3.6 meters per second. The yellow circle's inside the red circle. and all of it has the crosshair inside. Distance target is coming down. I'm going to time warp a little bit. Ship is pointing towards us. The autopilot's persistent on the other ship. My yellow circle is outside of the red circle, so I'm going to turn on RCS and use IJKIL, line them up. I'm also going to slow down with 10 to 1 meter per second. And all the while, keeping the yellow circle inside the pink circle. Perfect dock. The settings you want to make sure you have turned on are advanced tweakables, and there's advanced tweakables is right here, and extended burn indicator, which tells you when to start burning. Instead of telling you how long your burn is, it tells you when you should actually start burning. Advanced tweakables, again, allows you to aim the camera at a specific part of your ship so that you can zoom in. And say you wanted to dock with the port that's not on the end front of the ship, click on the port you want to dock with, say control from here, set the ship that you want to dock with as a target, and use target, and it will point that port that you're controlling it from to the target as if it's the front of the ship, and the rest of the process is the same. Go back to our other ship. We're going to set that docking port as a target, double click it, and using RCS, and make sure that we're pointing towards the target. Keep the yellow circle inside of the pink circle. I like to turn off RCS, especially for big ships, before you dock. And there you go. Hope that helps. Bye.